Hey cats, it's EDDBUD here. Today I'm examining an update to a shoe that I really enjoyed running in 2021. We take a peek at the Under Armour Flow Velociti Wind 2. Thanks for joining me on the channel, cats, always appreciated. You know what to do about the subscribe button and the bell. If you've already done that though, give us a thumbs up like and also share this video with your running buddies. Cheers me dears. This is a shoe that Under Armour have very kindly sent me over for testing because they knew I liked the first one so much. Some stats for you number hungry viewers. This one is a UK size 11, comes in at 278 grams, so it's just under 10 ounces. I've measured the midsole in this one, certainly in the heel, and it's much higher than the 26mm that Under Armour suggest in the insole. I think it's about 36mm of stack here, so if you're thinking it's perhaps a little bit too minimal for you, then you could be in for a surprise. I think it's about 28mm in the forefoot, so yeah, it's quite a big difference from what Under Armour suggest. Maybe it's much lower in the lower sizes, I don't know. So we're looking at a weight that's almost exactly the same as the Flow Velociti Wind original. I think that one was perhaps a touch lighter, only by a couple of grams though. Very minimal updates, but if it ain't broke, then why bother trying to fix it? We'll start with the upper first. And what an upper it is, one of the most visually appealing shoes I've reviewed in a long time. Upper-wise, it's a very similar mesh to the V1 Velociti Wind in structure and appearance. In fact, we only have very subtle changes here in the new version of the shoe. They've changed the padding on the tongue very slightly. It does actually extend across to both sides now. It was a bit more minimal in the first version, and it's actually a big upgrade here. You haven't got quite as much lace pressure there over the top of the foot, and you can probably get away with using a runner's knot now as well. There's a lot more perforations here on the version 2. Still presents a really good lockdown over the top of the foot. I have to say, visually, I think I do prefer the version 2 of the Under Armour Flow Velociti Wind. Just a more striking design there. It's a little bit more refined. Certainly really pops this one. Do like the colourway. I think the white, high-vis, yellow and green and blue hints here really are a bit more striking. The V1 looked a little bit more technological, I suppose. The heel section of the shoe does seem to be very slightly taller on this new version, and overall there's a little bit more length to this second version of the shoe. I found that the first version was a little bit snug in the 11, but an 11 this time round is absolutely spot on. Visually you can see there's a little bit of extra length there, a little bit more true to size. On my initial runs the uppers behaved exactly as the V1, so it kind of makes it hard to give a different score for the upper. It's pretty much the same, just slightly better fit. Lockdown is still great, the lace length is on point, the extra toe box room you'll get in the second version is a welcome addition. All round still a great upper, a 2.7 out of 3 after my initial runs. Midsole now. No real discernible changes in the midsole or outsole of this second version. It appears to be pretty much exactly the same as the V1 in almost every aspect, and I really enjoyed that for several reasons, so let's just refresh ourselves here. Light yet responsive foam here. There's no sort of major squash to the flow material, perhaps closer to the Adios 6 than something like the Reebok Energy 3 or 4 now, or the Vomero 16, a very different shoe to those models. I found the flow material to be very consistent over time, certainly my escapades in the first version of the shoe just changed very little over the miles, and I feel the same with this one. Not really much of a break-in period out the box, it just kind of feels consistent over the miles. Now this isn't a midsole to select for those seeking copious cushion, it's more really a shoe for those who require reliable road response. Of course the shoe will track your runs if you connect it up to your mobile phone when you return, or you can use it while you're out running as well. The Map My Run app is the one to go for, but like I say, it will do all of that regardless of whether you take some sort of device with you. You can just attach it up to your phone when you return and it will pull off all your data. Interestingly, the shoe will also send its metrics to several different smartwatches and sports trackers. I had no problem connecting the shoe up to my Garmin Epix 2 or the Instinct 2. I guess a few runners out there would prefer them to remove the tech from the shoe that allows that to save a few grams of weight, but it's here nonetheless. In some way, the midsole material here in the Flow Velociti Wind 2 reminds me of a perhaps more consistent, less dense, maybe more responsive, I suppose, version of React. In fact, the shoe it most reminds me of is the Nike Zoom Fly Flyknit. Not for everyone perhaps, but it's got that same very sort of solid and propulsive feel that I found in that fantastic cult classic Nike shoe. I'm digging it, but then I dug the V1 and it's pretty much the same. I'll give this a 2.7 out of 3 for that Flow midsole after my initial runs. Outsole now. Outsole wise, it's that same tried and tested ridge and protrusion laden setup here as we found in the first version of the shoe. When you first look at it, it doesn't look like it's going to work, but believe you me, it's fantastic. Way more durable than any of the other exposed midsole material outsoles I've tried. I think it's down to the malleable nature of the actual midsole material itself. It enables the ridges to flex and grab gravelly paths and feels great on tarmac roads as well. I'd like to know if the running version of this Flow midsole material is really that much different to the basketball implementation. Having a quick look at that new Curry 9, it does look as if the design and pattern of the traction underfoot is that little bit different. Aside from the midfoot shank there, it's pretty much the same though. Not a massive departure, I suppose. Hard to rate it any lower than the first version of the shoe. I gave that a 2.7 and I think I'll repeat the score now. Just looking at the V1 and there's barely any wear there whatsoever, so I'm pretty confident that the V2 will have the same level of durability. Value now. Value wise, I keep seeing this model plus the V1 edition at discount prices all over the net. Mega bonus really if you're gonna dip in and try out one of these Under Armour shoes. I can heartily recommend this model to you guys. The V1 was smashing and the V2's a little bit more true to size to me. Mad durable. Great support from that warp upper, and that Flow midsole material is stable and very forgiving. I've tested the shoe out over a range of different paces and it always performs. Not all daily shoes really help to limit fatigue in the legs, but I feel that the Flow midsole material really does that. I'm going to raise the value score up a little bit from my initial V1 score. I think I gave it a 2.7. I'm going to raise it a little bit. I think it's worth it to a 2.8 after my initial runs. There's just very little to dislike here in the Under Armour Flow Velociti Wind 2. Glad I got a new pair and it looks fantastic. So if I've totaled the scores up correctly, that gives us 11 out of 12 after my initial runs in the Under Armour Flow Velociti Wind 2. Have you picked up any Under Armour shoes recently? Did you try out the Flow Velociti Wind after my recommendation? What did you make of it? Was it totally brilliant or trash? I love this model and I'm really glad that they've kind of left it alone, just giving us some new colourways. When a shoe's that good, that's all you need. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. A musical interlude for you, remaining on the 80s hip-hop tip with Fight the Power from Public Enemy. Of course, this one appeared on the Do the Right Thing soundtrack, a fantastic film from Spike Lee. Sure, I've seen that Spike Lee guy somewhere before. Something to do with basketball shoes. Do you know? Do you know? Do you know? The thing I liked with Public Enemy tunes is they weren't afraid to sort of mess around with the beats a little bit. So rather than just having these really sort of repetitive drum machine beats, you had some nice break beats that they used to space out, almost a jazzy kind of feel, and there's a slight military sense about it as well. Really do enjoy the different deliveries from the different vocalists within Public Enemy. They paint with different brushes, but they sort of work really well together. It's where in central midfield in a football team, you want someone who's really good at winning the ball back, quite robust, then you need the creative playmaker as well. And I find that that's what you've got in Public Enemy. I think the groove of the track is propelled forward by the fantastic guitar part that's repeated throughout. Lots of fantastic little samples and scratches added in here and there to add some flavour, to add in the spice. Fantastic film as well. If you haven't ever seen it, go and check it out. From the soundtrack to Do the Right Thing, it's Public Enemy with fight the power. I do recall getting a kitchen clock at one point and putting it around my neck trying to look like Public Enemy. I've always been a stickler for punctuality. Thanks for tuning in, cats. I hope you've enjoyed the review today. If you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button and click the bell below for notifications when we roll out the new videos for you. Also give this video a thumbs up, like, and share it with your running buddies. My name's EDDBUD, and I'll be seeing you